are present. C1a Greibach normal form. A context-free grammar is in Greibach normal form that or Chomsky normal form in context, and we see that we got follow the same procedure wherever we remove from this the first step. Now let's go to the second step. So in the second step, we have to check if there are any null productions, and we have to remove the null productions. So let us see what are the null productions that we have. Here we see that B gives epsilon. This is a null production. And also A gives epsilon. It is not directly there over here in this production, but I will show you how this comes as we proceed. And if you don't know how to remove the null productions, I suggest that you watch the video in which we have discussed how to remove null productions from a context-free grammar. Okay, so we have two null productions here. So let us first remove B gives epsilon. So in order to remove B gives epsilon, what you have to do is we have to check this production, and wherever you find that a B or a capital B is occurring, you have to remove that capital B, and we have to add that as a new production. So let's see how we can do this. So here we see that in this there is no B, but in this one S gives ASA and AB. So from here, if we remove this B, what will be the new production that we get? From AB, if we remove B, the new production that we will get is just A. So what I will do, I will write this as it is, and here S gives ASA, this one, and AB also you have to write it as it is, and then if you remove B from here, what you will get is just a single A. So that A we write here as a new production. And then come to this one, A gives B and S. Now from this, if you remove B, what will happen? You will get a production which says A gives epsilon. So I will first write the things which was already there as it is. A gives BS, and if I remove B, I will get an epsilon here, which is this one. And then B gives B, B gives B, and we can remove the epsilon from here because this is what we were trying to remove, the null production that we were trying to remove. Okay, now this we get this production now, and we see that we got another null production in this production that we have, which is A gives epsilon. So we have to remove A gives epsilon. So in order to remove A gives epsilon, you have to follow the same procedure. Wherever you find A in the RHS, you have to replace it and create new productions without that A. So let's see. S gives S, there is no A here, so we write it as it is. And here we see that there are A's. S gives ASA. There are two A's over here. So what we do, I will first write all these things as they are. ASA, AB and A. Up to here it is same. And now from this ASA, if I remove the last A, then what do I get? I will just get AS. So I include the production AS. And now instead of removing this last, if I remove this first, what do I get? I will get SA. And that is a new production that I will add. And if I remove both the A's, then what do I get? I will just get a single S, and that also I have to add it here. So I have added them all, and then from here I can remove the epsilon symbol. A gives epsilon, which was the null production that we were trying to remove. So A gives BS, epsilon symbol is gone, and B gives B is written as it is. Okay, now we have finished removing the null productions, and the third step is to remove the unit productions. So if you don't know how to remove unit productions, there is a lecture in which I have discussed how to remove unit productions in detail, so you can watch that if you don't know how to do it. So let's see in this case what are the unit productions that we have. So unit productions are of this form. When one variable gives just another variable, that is called a unit production. So here we have S gives S. S gives S. This is one unit production. Then S dash gives S. That is another unit productions. then A gives B, this is another unit production, and A gives S, this is another unit production. So we have to remove them. So in order to remove unit productions, what we have to do, let us see. So in order to remove this S gives S, we see that this is the latest production that we have. So S is giving this whole thing and also S. And what is the value of S? It is again this same thing. So you can just directly remove it without doing any further steps. So we just remove it directly, and after we remove, we get this S dash gives S is same, and S gives all these things as it is, and this S over here is removed, and then the rest of the things are same. So we are done with the first one. Now we have to remove S dash gives S. So in order to remove S dash gives S, what we have to do is we have to replace this S with something. So what we'll do, we'll look at the latest production which we have, which is this one, and here we see that S dash is giving S, and then the value of this S is this one over here. So instead of writing S dash gives S, I will replace this S with these whole variables which this S produces. So I will write S dash gives ASA, AB, A, AS, and SA, this one, and then S remains the same, this whole thing S, and then A and B also remains the same. Okay, so we are done with this, and now the third one we have to remove is A gives B. So in order to remove A gives B, let us check the latest production that we have, which is this one, and I want to remove A gives B. So what can I replace B with? So we see that B is giving small b, so I will replace A gives B with A gives small b. So S dash and S are the same, they will be the same as they are, and here A gives BS. So instead of this B over here, I will replace it with small b. So A gives small b and S, and B gives B remains the same. Okay, so we are done with this one, and now let's come to the last one, which is A gives S. A gives S. So in order to remove this, we see that we have to replace this S with the value of S. And what is the value of S? S gives this whole thing. So I have to say that A will give B, and instead of S, I will put this whole thing. So S dash and S, they remain the same, no changes. So here A gives B, which was already there, and instead of S, I will put the whole value of S, this one, and then B gives B remains the same. So by this we have removed all the unit productions from our given CFG. Okay, so now we can go to the next step. So in the next step, what we have to do is we have to find out the productions that has more than two variables in RHS. So if you remember the rules of Chomsky normal form, we are not allowed to have more than two variables in the RHS. So this is the latest production that we have, and from this latest production we see that S dash is giving ASA. It is having more than two variables. It is having three variables, so this is not allowed. And S gives ASA. This is also not allowed. And A is also giving ASA. So these are the three productions that violate the rules of Chomsky normal form. So we have to remove them. So in order to remove them, what we will do is, instead of writing ASA, I will just write A, and this SA I will replace it with another variable which I will call X, and that X will give a new production which says X gives SA. So how I'll do this? S dash gives A, and instead of SA I will just write X, and then the rest of the things are the same. And even in S, instead of ASA, I will write A, and instead of SA, I will write X, and the rest of the things remains the same. And even in A, I do the same thing. Instead of ASA, I just write A followed by X, and then B remains the same. And now I have to add a new production, X gives SA, because all the SAs were replaced by X. So X gives SA is a new production that we have. So we are done with that, and now let's go to the next step. So in the next step, we have to change the productions. S dash gives AB, S gives AB, and A gives AB. And why is that? That is because these productions also violate the rule of Chomsky normal form, because in Chomsky normal form, in the right hand side, you are not allowed to have one terminal symbol and a variable together. So in order to remove this, let's see what are the things we need to do. So if you want to see where are these, you can see this. S dash gives AB, S gives AB, A gives AB. These are the three things that I'm talking about. So in order to remove this, what we will do is this A over here, I will replace it with a variable. This A is a terminal symbol, so I will replace it with a variable which I will call Y, and I will add a production which says Y gives A. So how will we do this? S dash gives AX, it is the same thing, and instead of AB, this A will be replaced by Y. So it will be YB, and then the rest of the things remains the same. And even in S, we do the same thing. AB is replaced by YB, and even in A, the same thing happens. AB is replaced by YB, and then B gives B and X gives SA remains the same, and we have to add a new production Y gives A, because we have used Y here. And why did we use Y? Because we were replacing the small a's with the Y. So Y gives A is a new production that we have to add. So finally we get this production, which is a required Chomsky normal form for the given context-free grammar. So if you check these productions, they are following all the rules of Chomsky normal form, and thus we have successfully converted the given context-free grammar to the Chomsky normal form. So I hope this was helpful to you. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one. X gives SA. In the last lecture, we have studied about Chomsky. In the last lecture, we have studied about Chomsky normal form, and we have also studied how to convert a given CFG to Chomsky normal form. So in this lecture, we'll be studying about another normal form, which is known as the Greibach normal form. We shall see what is this, and we will also see how to convert a given context-free grammar to Greibach normal form. Alright, so let's see what is a Greibach normal form. A context-free grammar is in Greibach normal form if the productions are in the following forms: A gives B, or A gives B C1 C2 up till Cn, where A C1 till Cn are non-terminals and B is a terminal symbol. So if you have a production of this form where A, which is a non-terminal symbol, gives B, which is a terminal symbol, this is in Greibach normal form. Or if you have a production of this form where a non-terminal symbol A gives a terminal symbol followed by a set of non-terminal symbols, then also it is in Greibach normal form. So if you have productions of these two forms, then they are said to be in Greibach normal form, and if they are not in this form, then they are not in Greibach normal form. So now we shall see the steps that we need to follow in order to convert a given CFG to its equivalent Greibach normal form. So here we have the steps that we need in order to convert a given CFG to GNF. So step number 1. Check if the given CFG has unit productions or null productions, and remove if there are any. So you have to first check in the given CFG, are there any unit productions or null productions? If you don't know what are these, I request you to watch the previous videos where I have discussed about unit productions and null productions, and also we have discussed how to remove the unit productions and null productions in one of the previous lectures. So you can watch that, and using that technique you have to remove any unit productions or null productions that are present. Alright, so step number 2. Check whether the CFG is already in Chomsky normal form and convert it to Chomsky normal form if it is not. So you have to check that the given CFG, is it already in Chomsky normal form or not. And if you don't know about Chomsky normal form, I advise you to watch the previous lecture where we have discussed about Chomsky normal form, and we have also discussed the steps that we need to follow in order to convert a given context-free grammar to Chomsky normal form. So in step 2, we have to check whether the given CFG is already in Chomsky normal form, and if it is not, you have to convert it using the technique that we have discussed in the previous lecture. And then step 3 says, change the names of the non-terminal symbols into some A of I in ascending order of I. Now, what do we mean by this? We will see this using an example. Alright, so here we have an example where we have a context-free grammar given, and the productions are of this form. S gives CA and also BB. B gives small b and also SB. C gives small b and A gives small A. So here the capital letters denote the non-terminal symbols, and then the small letters, they denote the terminal symbols. So let us just see step number 1. We have to check if there are any unit productions or null productions. If you see that in these productions there are no unit productions or null productions, so step 1 we don't have to do it. And step number 2 says check whether it is already in Chomsky normal form. So if you remember the rules that we need to follow in order to check whether a given context-free grammar is in Chomsky normal form, and using that, if we see that this is already in Chomsky normal form. So step 2 also is done. Now step 3 says change the names of the non-terminal symbols into some a of I in ascending order of I. Now how do we do this? For doing this, we see that we have the non-terminal symbols S, C, A, B in these productions, and all this we have to replace it with some a of I. And let's see how we can do this. So here we will replace S with A1, and then C with A2, and then A with A3, and B with A4. So this is how we will replace the names of these non-terminal symbols using a of I, where I is from 1 to 4 for this particular example. Now you cannot just randomly give any names to these non-terminal symbols, but you have to follow it in ascending order starting from the very first production. So it's not that you just see S, okay, let me call it A of 1, and then here I have B, so let me call it A of 2. It's not like that. You have to first see the production, the first production, and you have to follow it in the correct order. So here we have S, so I call it A of 1, and then the next one is C, I call it A of 2, A, I call it A of 3, and B, I call it A of 4. And if you come to the next production, it's B. We have already defined what is B, and the next one is S. S also we have already given the name, and then C and A also we have already given. So we have to replace the variables like this in ascending order. Now let's see what will be the equivalent production that we get after we replace these non-terminal symbols with these names A1, A2, A3 and A4. So this is what we get. A1 gives A2, A3 and A4, A4. So if you see why did we get this? S was A1, that is why I wrote here A1. C was A2, that is why it's A2 here. And A was A3, that is why it's A3 here. And both B's were A4, that's why we got A4, A4 here. And the rest of the things also, when we replace it, this is what we get. Now let's see what is the next step. Step number 4. It says alter the rules so that the non-terminals are in ascending order such that if the production is of the form AI gives AJX, then I should always be less than J and it should never be greater than or equal to J. I should never be greater than or equal to J. So what
Time to change my shirt.
do we mean?
It's 4:54. Huh? What happened? When did I start my second session? I keep on forgetting things. 3:51. मैंने कितने बजे स्टार्ट किया स्ट्रीम को? जरा स्ट्रीम चेक करता हूँ, मैं भूल जाता हूँ सब कुछ आजकल. कितनी देर हुई? अभी 15 ही मिनट हुए होंगे. 20 मिनट्स हो गए, अभी 10 मिनट्स बचे. 10 minutes to this session.
Mean by this? Let us look at this production. If you are taking this production, let's see and try to put it in the form of AI gives AJX. So here what is our AI? It is A1. And what is our AJ? It is A2. And you have to just look at the first variable and the next one that follows it. You don't have to worry about the things after that. So here your I is 1 and your J is 2. So our rule says that I should always be less than J. It should always be in ascending order. So let us see if it is the case here or not. So here I is 1 and J is 2. I is definitely less than J. 1 is less than 2. So it is following the rule which is mentioned over here. And let us see for the next one. A1 gives A4, A4. So you have to just look at A1 and this A4 over here. So here I is 1 and J is 4. So 1 is less than 4. It is also in ascending order. So it is following the rule that is mentioned in step number 4. So we are fine with this first production. And now let us check for the second production. Here it says A4 gives B. So what about this one? So when I already told you about the rules of Greibach normal form in the beginning of this lecture. We saw that if a non-terminal symbol directly gives a terminal symbol, then that is already in Greibach normal form. So this part is already in Greibach normal form. You don't have to worry. So now we have to look at this part. So in this part it says A4 gives A1 A4. Now let us see if it is following step number 4 or not. So here your I is 4 and J is 1. So here we see that I is greater than J. 4 is greater than 1. So we already said in step number 4, the rule said that it should never be greater than or equal to J. It is not following the rule that is mentioned in step number 4.
यहाँ पर बहुत ही ऐसे लोग हैं जो बिना किसी फेवर के, मैंने उनकी हेल्प किया, मतलब एक हिसाब से अल्लाह का हुक्म है कि आपको अगर दिल को खुशी मिल रही किसी की हेल्प करके, नहीं भी मिल रही तो भी करो.
So we need to resolve this portion. Now let's see how we can resolve it. We have to resolve it by replacing the problematic variable with some other values. So let's see how we can do that. So here let me just write down the rule that is causing the problem. It is A4 gives B A1 A4. Now if you look at this, the problem is caused by this A1 over here. So what I will do is I will replace this A1 with some other value. Now what is that some other value with which I can replace A1? I have to replace it with the value of A1 that is given over here. So let us replace it and see if it is going to follow the rule or not. So I'll write A4, it gives, now this B I'll write it as it is, and then instead of A1 I will write A2 A3 and A4 A4. So first let me write this one A2 A3. So I'll write A2 A3, and this A4 which is here I have to write it down as it is, A4, and also it gives A4 A4. So instead of this A1 I will put A4 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 A4, and this A4 which is here I will write it down as it is, A4. Alright, so now we have this production. Now let us see if it is following the rules that was mentioned in step 4 or not. A4 gives B, that is fine. Now A4 gives A2, A3, A4. Now let us check here. Our I is 4 and our J is 2. Again we see that I, which is 4, is greater than J, which is 2. So this is not allowed. So it is still not following the rule of step number 4. So what I'll do is I will replace the value of A2, because this was the variable that is causing the problem. I will replace the value of A2 with some other value in order to make it follow rule number 4. So what is the value of A2 with which I can replace it? A2 gives B. Now let me try to replace A2 with B. So this A4, let me write it, A4, it gives B, this B as it is, and instead of A2 I will write B now, B, and the rest of the things I'll write as it is, A3, A4, and this part also I'll write it as it is, A4.
How much time is left यार, पता भी नहीं चल रहा मुझे, आधा घंटा होने में कितना टाइम बचा है. आंखें देखी तो मैं 5 मिनट बचे. That means 5:05 पे अपन I will try and pray for some time and
A4,
continue after that.
A4.
सपने पूरे करने हैं.
Now let's see if it is following our rules or not. So here we see that A4 gives B, okay, that is fine, and A4 gives B, A3, A4. Now if you remember the rules of Greibach normal form, if a non-terminal symbol gives a terminal symbol followed by anything, then that is in Greibach normal form. So let me just take you up there once. So if you see here, a CFG is in Greibach normal form if it is giving a terminal symbol directly, or if it gives a terminal symbol followed by any other variables, then also it is in Greibach normal form. So we see that this part is in Greibach normal form now. B and B, A3, A4 are already in Greibach normal form. Now we have to check this part. It says A4 gives A4, A4, A4. Here our I is 4 and J is also 4. So here we are getting a condition, a situation where I is equal to j. So that is also not allowed. In step 4 it says that it should never be I is greater than or equal to j. So here we are getting a condition where I and j are equal. So when we get this, what we have to do? When we get this kind of condition is known as left recursion. So our step number 5 is to remove the left recursion. So there are certain steps that we need to follow in order to remove left recursions, and that we will be discussing in the next lecture. So I hope this was clear to you. So you have to follow steps number 1 to 4 in order to convert a given CFG to its. So this is not allowed, so it is still not following the rule of step number 4. So what I'll do is I will replace the value of a2, because this was the variable that is causing the problem. I will replace the value of a2 with some other value in order to make it follow rule number 4. So what is the value of a2 with which I can replace it? A2 gives b. Now let me try to replace a2 with b. So this a4, let me write it. A4, it gives b, this b as it is, and instead of a2 I will write b now, b, and the rest of the things I'll write as it is, a3, a4, and this part also I'll write it as it is, a4, a4, a4. Now let's see if it is following our rules or not. So here we see that a4 gives b, okay, that is fine, and a4 gives b, a3, a4. Now if you remember the rules of Greibach normal form, if a non-terminal symbol gives a terminal symbol followed by anything, then that is in Greibach normal form. So let me just take you up there once. So if you see here, a CFG is in Greibach normal form if it is giving a terminal symbol directly, or if it gives a terminal symbol followed by any other variables, then also it is in Greibach normal form. So we see that this part is in Greibach normal form now. B and B, A3, A4 are already in Greibach normal form. Now we have to check this part. It says A4 gives A4, A4, A4. Here our I is 4 and J is also 4. So here we are getting a condition, a situation where I is equal to J. So that is also not allowed. In step 4 it says that it should never be I is greater than or equal to J. So here we are getting a condition where I and j are equal. So when we get this, what we have to do? When we get this kind of condition is known as left recursion. So our step number 5 is to remove the left recursion. So there are certain steps that we need to follow in order to remove left recursions, and that we will be discussing in the next lecture.
5:04 हुए, 1 मिनट अभी ऐसे ही है, still 1 minute left. So तब तक थोड़ा बहुत इसके इंट्रो के बारे में जान लेता हूँ. CFG
Where
is in Greibach normal form if the productions are in the following forms. A gives a terminal and starts with a terminal and then a bunch of non-terminals. Alright, thank you so much. Love you. Love these kind of things because these things will never break your heart. So please study. Enjoyment. Don't think it as a stress. Think it as a game. Alright? Enjoyment, fun. What brought happiness to you? What brought enjoyment to you in a positive way so that you don't think about pulling someone else down. Okay? Enjoy.